What's up, everybody? I'm here with Abubakar Salim, founder and CEO of Surgent Studios, to talk about his new game, Tales of Kenzera ZAU. Welcome, Abu.
Thank you for having me, man.
So, tell us all about Tales of Kenzera ZAU.
Tales of Kenzera is about a young warrior-shaman called ZAU, who essentially makes a deal with the god of death, Kalunga, that in exchange for 3 great spirits that roam the land of Kenzera, the god of death will bring his father back to the living. It's an action adventure sort of platformer, Metroidvania inspired, and essentially the real truth of where it comes from my journey of grief and my personal experience of that after I lost my dad. It's set in this sort of fantastical Afrocentric world, which again is really inspired by quite a few Bantu tales that my father used to tell me, and stuff that I also have learned as I've gone along too. But yeah, it's quite an experience.
So I believe game creator is a relatively new title for you. You're also an actor. What was compelling about using gaming to tell this story as opposed to film or television?
I've always loved games. I've played games like all my life, and truly, it's the king of storytelling in regards to how you deliver stories. It's a powerful tool in regards to the fact that the audience aren't necessarily just passively watching, they're actively taking part and engaging in it. And I think it just felt right. I think when playing a game, I feel like I'm more emotionally moved going on this journey and learning at the same time as a character, and actively doing it rather than necessarily passively watching.
And then once you landed on using gaming as your medium for telling the story, how did you specifically land on a Metroidvania game?
Really, truly, it just felt like the right genre to tell. I think the beauty of Metroidvanias is that you throw a player into a world that they have no idea about. And you've got to learn about it and get comfortable with it as you go along. And so for me, that's essentially grief. You can't really necessarily prepare for it. It comes at you at any time it wants to. And yes, it does essentially provide you the tools in order to sort of get used to it. As you kind of sit with it, the longer you do. And I think that journey is essentially the exact sort of way a Metroidvania plays out. And I think that's why this game felt right for being that sort of genre.
Well, games about grief specifically are a relatively new phenomenon. There's examples like Gris, What Remains of Edith Finch, even God of War. These games have resonated deeply with players in recent years. Why do you think that is? And what do you think is the emotional impact you hope Tales of Kenzera has on players?
I think it's a complex one, right? And it's a really personal one. I think everyone's grief and their journey is very different. The fact that not everyone is sad straight away, or not everyone is angry. It comes in its own way and affects people in their own way, shape, and form. And I think truly that the hope with Tales is to just give another perspective to that. Another sort of look at it. I think a lot of the time, quite rightly so, grief is always depicted as something quite sad and lots of vengeance or fueled with anger. And I think with Tales, I've kind of gone down the approach of wanting it to be more a celebration of those we've loved and lost, in the sense of a look at their lives and a reflection on that, in the sense of really kind of seeing yes, there is sadness there and there is anger there, and it's okay to not be okay, but at the same time we should be thankful that they have touched our lives in such a way. Some people it will resonate with and some people it won't, but ultimately that's the point. It's so unique to everyone's journey, and it's okay to feel the way that you do.
As a first-time game maker, what have been the biggest surprises or the biggest learnings along this journey for you?
It's funny, actually, coming from the film and TV space, I've learned so much more because of the openness and the access to information that game devs are to the people than I have with film and TV. It doesn't feel as closed, funnily enough. But I think it's one of the biggest learnings is how hard it is. I always say, if I knew what I did now back then when I started the studio, I would have run a mile. I wouldn't have done it at all, man. But there's also a sense of, again, real beauty in it. And I think for me, what excites me about the industry and something that I do want to push is the opportunity and the space to grow and the space to thrive and for change. You know, it's still a young industry, so there is so much that can be done in order to make it feel good and play good. Not that it, you know, doesn't already, but we can evolve it more, you know.
There are several biomes in the game. You didn't approach it like, well, we need to have a water level and a lava level, right?
One of the things that I think a lot of the time you see in games is you've got your typical sort of lava space and your fire space, your water space and swimming space, and really something that we wanted to approach with the team is this idea of handling each space as a way of looking at grief and the emotions. So for example, like in the Highlands, you know, I wanted to look at anxiety and what that means, especially, you know, after suffering loss. At the same time, it's an art form, right? Games are an art form, and how else can you build and design something with just one layer? You want to kind of look at it from a high level and really dig and dive into it. And I think that's something that we really wanted to even play with the Highlands and look at anxiety and stress and how that not only affects the land, but also affects the characters that you will meet along the journey as well.
I believe you're incorporating all sorts of Bantu religion and mythology into the game. Can you tell us about that?
I mean, the beauty of the Bantu cultures is how rich their mythologies and stories and legends are. You know, Tales of Kenzera is very much a universe that I wanted to kind of conjure and play with. You know, we're pulling from the Zulu, the Xhosa, you know, the Maasai, and you know, even the Botswanan sort of, you know, the people. It's to me, these are the tip of the iceberg of stories and spaces that we want to evolve. I mean, like for example, you know, you'll be able to fight Tokolosh or Tokoloshe, which are these kind of little creatures within sort of Zulu myth. It's a real celebration of these cultures and beauty of them, because I think we see a lot of Norse and sort of Celtic and even Greek mythology, and now for me it feels like, hey, let's look over here, so then we can inspire other people as well to tell these kind of stories.
I know this has been a big, important journey for you, so thank you for sharing more of the game with us, and we can't wait to play soon.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us, Abu. Tales of Kenzera ZAU arrives on April 23rd.